You know, I'm in a really unique position, along with a handful of other people my age, where I grew up on creepy content. I guess I mean like old creepy content. I grew up with creepypastas, ghost videos, weird websites, all that sort of stuff, and I believed it was real. And as I got older, I tend to notice that the things that I loved when I was much younger are starting to disappear into obscurity. I say this with a bittersweet taste in my mouth. I think it's wonderful that so many people are enjoying new creepy content, and that these wonderful, amazing channels that have sprung up in the past few years that cover this sort of creepy stuff. But it does make me sad knowing that so much that I loved years ago isn't really relevant anymore, or it's just totally forgotten today. Thankfully, I'm an old fart who loves recanting the tales of his youth, so with that being the case, let's travel a few years back and talk about one of my favorite and strangest YouTube channel personalities, Shaye St. John, a strange puppet-looking character who got their fame from just being weird and strange. Yeah, there isn't really much you could say about Shaye St. John that isn't already self-evident. I remember bringing up Shaye on a live stream once, and I told everyone how my favorite video from Shaye was the hand thing video. It was so weird and wacky and off the walls, and it's just kind of funny.
Shaye? Are you still doing that hand thing? I heard you're doing the hand thing today. God, what is that? Shaye, what is it? Hood. You've been doing this for 24/7. So you've been doing the hand thing all day? Heard you were. Jordan told me you had been doing it on a sleeping bag earlier. Shaye, I can't stop doing the thing. What is it? God, I heard you're doing the hand thing. Hood. Hood. What is that? God, what is it?
It's not the sort of thing to creep you out, but I understand if it did. It's unsettling with the strange makeup, the plastic mannequin hands, the weird music. But I get this weird feeling of joy just watching it, and maybe that's just nostalgia, honestly. It's reminiscent to absurdist art and comedy that was rising around the mid to late 2000s with the introduction of Adult Swim content, most notably Tim and Eric, and of course the Eric Andre show. Or if you're a really old fart, then something like the Tom Green show, which was Though exploring more into Shaye St. John, we see a myriad of videos, 56 in total, all uploaded in 2006 to 2007 on Shaye's official channel, Elastic Plastic Fantastic. Yet despite the channel being made 15 years ago, some of you might be surprised to hear that the character of Shaye St. John was actually created in 1999 by surrealist filmmaker and punk rocker Eric Fournier. Around this time, there was no YouTube, so Eric was distributing DVD collections of Shaye St. John titled The Triggers Compilation. You can even see a trailer for the DVD right here, and you know something? It's kind of crazy to think about this, but Eric Fournier, and by extension Shaye St. John, was among the first people to create viral creepy content. In many ways, you can even consider this a true-to-life alternate reality show, not necessarily a game. Mind you, Shaye St. John isn't a real person, but she is fleshed out to be real, as described by the various DVDs she was included in, as well as Eric Fournier himself. Shaye is a supermodel who got into a horrific car accident when one day she was run over by a train. She's been disfigured all over, and she uses wooden hands and a plastic mannequin face to cover herself. Back in 2003, just about 4 years after her creation, Shaye made a live journal blog. And if you don't know what those two things are, well, it's like Twitter and Tumblr combined, only without the character limit or the validation. Around 2006, Eric Fournier uploaded all 52 of Shaye's videos up on YouTube, with the previously mentioned channel Elastic Spastic Plastic Fantastic. And the videos themselves, I mean, if you haven't watched them before, it's just hard to describe. You just gotta watch them yourself. If you watch any of Shaye St. John's videos, I guarantee you that you will not find the words to describe what she was or what she's doing. She was her own thing. And in many ways, I think it's very insulting of me to say that other people copied her style. The fact is, she was something worth imitating. The style, the franticness, the crazy edits. I know this sort of stuff is so common nowadays, what with everyone and their grandma making their own creepy ARG content or whatever online, but Shaye was doing something 20 years ahead of her time. This is around the time a cult following was garnered, and when I say it was massive, I mean people really dug into the character. I mean, there were people all over YouTube at the time trying to imitate Shaye, some people claiming that they were Shaye, or making their own Shaye content, people dressed up as Shaye St. John for Halloween or just for fun, videos of other people doing the hand thing. I mean, we were in love with this freaky character. Now obviously, she wasn't mainstream. I mean, anyone with a phone bought in the double digits and a good editing software could pretty much become mainstream creepy nowadays if they're lucky enough and get enough coverage from the right people. But back then, Shaye was in an environment that was unfavorable to her, yet she flourished. Back in the late 2000s, people weren't willingly looking for creepy weird shit. This stuff was mostly word of mouth. This was during a time when you found creepy stuff or weird videos online, it would be considered the weird part of YouTube, not the main part. Nowadays, that's sort of celebrated. It's like its own subgenre of YouTube videos. So this fan base she gathered, I mean, I say it's massive, but it was really about, I don't know, maybe like 80,000 people or so. I understand by today's standards, that's nothing, but back then, that was big. I even remember a creepypasta trying to capitalize on the character and trying to make them the next big Jeff the Killer. I think I even saw someone trying to make Shaye an SCP. Yeah, early 2010s creepy community was a bit try-hard, but I loved it all the same, and we loved anything we could find. When we found Shaye St. John, I mean, it was a trip. It was a trip and a half, a sort of parody of the washed-up superstar trope, as well as the common teenage spastic energy you would see in any middle school or high school during this time. It was 3 parts comedy, 2 parts creepy, but 100 parts insanity, and only weirdos like me would love this sort of shit. By the way, I understand in the UK that spastic or spaz means something incredibly offensive and derogatory, but I assure you here in the States it doesn't really mean anything derogatory at all, so please stop dialing 999 at me. I'm not trying to be offensive. Sadly, the resurgence in fame Shaye garnered over the years is fairly recent. And I say sadly because in 2010, Shaye St. John's creator Eric Fournier passed away. To add insult to injury, Shaye's channel was removed in 2017 by YouTube for seemingly no reason other than it being too weird for YouTube. This was around the same time Shaye became much bigger than she ever was, what with the rise of spooky content creators like I mentioned, and scary freaky content being more of a regular thing for people to cover. I guess in a way it was a side effect of the rise of the spooky community, and an unfortunate one at that. Luckily, all of Shaye's videos have been re-uploaded to YouTube, albeit with fewer views. There is also a new Elastic Spastic Plastic Fantastic channel with all new videos and such, but I'm not quite sure if it's Shaye herself or not. There was a second person working alongside Eric Fournier, Carl Crew, who was pretty much an instrumental part of her growth and her fame as well. Eric and Carl had quite a lot planned together, something about a deep plot involving Shaye turning out to be a person on the run, being protected in secrecy by witness protection. They were essentially going to get into the lore of everything, but that never came to fruition. Honestly, that would have been cool to see, but I remember Shaye for being who she is and what she represents. Yes, she's crazy. Yes, she's energetic and weird. But honestly, and I'm not trying to be sentimental here or anything, Shaye legitimately reminds me of just someone who's confident in themselves. Listen, in the 2000s, I and many of my friends were bullied for being too weird. I saw that as a bad thing, like I wasn't allowed to express myself or else I'd stick out like a sore thumb for others to point and laugh at. I was very insecure about who I was or what I loved. It wasn't until around 2008 when I got my own computer and I found others who also shared my interests and loving these interests wholeheartedly. This is when I found Shaye, and I saw in her a weirdo who loved doing weird things and loving herself, not because she sees herself as weird, but she sees herself as something beautiful. What we do in our lives and what we love, what inspires us, that makes us beautiful, not weird. If those things are weird, then so be it. We are who we are. We love what we love, and through Shaye, I found some amazing people who are just as beautiful as her and as you. Yes, you, the audience back at home. Huh. This isn't really a good Traumathon episode, is it? I guess I forgot to mention how scary she might be to some people, but... yeah. Well, I guess I can consider this my worst Traumathon entry of all time. For now, at least. Oh well.